Andy.
Oh, hang on.
It's all right. What do you make of that, Kristian?
Oh look, England were exceptionally good. Sometimes you've got to sit back and applaud some of those tries, and they come up with some exceptional tries. They played exceptionally well every time, as they've done all series. Every time we had our opportunities, they did a really good job of scrambling, and we didn't deserve that scoreline. If you look at the effort that was put in, and I'm really proud of our guys from that point of view. I thought we turned up with a great attitude. We showed that the first set. You always get a bit of an indication of where your team's at in the first set, and so I thought we turned up with a great attitude. I thought we showed that attitude and some real fight throughout the whole game. And when the score looked like it could have blown out, we hung in, we saved some tries, we kept trying, we kept defending for our lives, and kept trying to find points. And as I said, England deserve enormous credit. They played terrifically well. They were really strong tonight, and sometimes you don't get what you deserve, and that was a bit of an example tonight. But full credit to England.
Without wishing to try and make excuses, how influential have the conditions been over the last 3 weeks? Because they haven't been very kind, have they? Any of the three tests.
No, look, they haven't been, but that's part of the challenge of coming over here. And when you sign up to come and play a 3-game series over here in autumn, then you know that it's probably going to be cold, it's probably going to be wet, you've got to, why we came over here, we wanted the challenge. The easy thing for us to do would have been to stay at home and play in the Pacific Championships, and we had that option. It was the easy option. We put our necks out to come over here, and we knew that it would be good for us in terms of the challenge and in terms of how many young blokes that we've got in the team that are only going to grow from this experience. And we also had in the back of our minds want to help out England football a little bit, and it needs a little bit of help at the moment. Everyone can see that, and we certainly wanted to make sure we played our part. And the conditions and being refereed a little bit different and all those sorts of things, yes, they're a challenge, but again, they're all part of the challenge and something we're very aware of.
Kristian, you missed a lot of boys, Tamalolo, Takeo, Manumar, Katoni. Is it a real case of rebuilding now from that 2017 side, and you've got to bring through like Finey today to those young guys and restart a bit?
Well, 2019 was a bit of a pinnacle for us, really, wasn't it? We beat Great Britain, we beat Australia, and if you have a look at that squad, I reckon the average age, I'm taking a bit of a guess here, but I reckon it would have been 27 plus, and it was very experienced, it was very hardened, it was guys that know how to play international footy and know what it takes. And some of those names you mentioned, I could rattle off a fair list: Tumalolo, Fafita, Taniela Paseka, Katoni Staggs, Dallin Martinez, Lesniak, Daniel Tupou, Sione Katoa. There's some terrific experienced players there that obviously all would have helped us, because experience helps you in those big games, and experience means that you know what it takes to win those sorts of games. But at the same time, we brought away a group that's got 6 blokes 21 or under. There's 2 guys in this squad that won't be playing in a World Cup, and everyone else, if they're playing well enough, most likely will be. And we're only going to get better for it. And when you're debuting 8 players, and you're debuting guys like Latu Fainu, Siwa Wong, young Junior Tupou, they're all young men. They're only going to get better, and they're going to learn a hell of a lot from this experience. And let's not forget that our halfback is a 19-year-old. He's going to learn a hell of a lot from this experience. Our fullback, Tolu Kola, is only a young man as well. So we're on the improve, and there's a terrific group of men there. And one thing I'll say, we're disappointed with the results. We're disappointed to go down 3-0. There's no doubt about that. We're disappointed to lose today. To end up 26-4, I think. And we're certainly disappointed with that scoreline. But one thing I'm not disappointed with is the way our group of men have come over here. They're prepared. Every training session, including this week, has been outstanding. They've put their footy first. They haven't been on holidays. They've tried their absolute hardest to prepare well. And I think they've put that sort of effort into every game, and I'm very proud of them as a group of men.
What will they gain from the experience away from the sporting side? Actually, a lot of them won't have been over here before. and you come over for 3-4 weeks. What as men do you think they'll experience that they'll gain from this experience?
Well, look, I think it's a great experience, and even little things like driving down the M62 and seeing names that you know are related to rugby league, but seeing they're all on one highway sort of thing, and how close they are together, and some of the old buildings. We've been in some terrific cities and had great experiences in every city. Liverpool to start, and Manchester. We're in Leeds now, and all of those cities offer plenty of historical sites, and that's great for our young blokes to see. The parents have spoken about it, they've read about it in history, things like that, and how they get to see some of those things. So that's part of the experience. And when you talk about, I mentioned before, young Latu who played tonight, he's 18 years old, and him coming away on a trip like this for his first, he's not the only one, but he's a good example. Coming away on a trip like this for the first time with guys like Adam Fanua-Blake, Will Hopewadi, Conrad Hurrell. If you want to look for examples of what you want your team to look like and who you want them to be, and what you want a good example of a Tonga man to be, they're great examples. And guys like Latu get a first-hand look at what it takes and what it means in all those cases. So there couldn't be a better learning curve.
You probably wouldn't give Samoa any advice, but if you did, if they're coming in here in 12 months, what learnings could you offer?
I'm not sure if they are. As I said, we've had discussions about playing them over there as well. So, I don't think anyone should count that as a given just yet.
Kristian, you've been in charge since 2014. You've obviously had huge success and probably the longest serving coach in international rugby league. You got the passion to keep going with Tonga and bring through the next World Cup and after? Or?
Well, look, I've got to wait and see. There's a lot of things to consider there, and have I got the passion? Yeah, I have. You go through different groups, and it took us a long time to get to 2017. There was a lot of players and a lot of camps and a lot of things that we knew we had to improve to get to 2017. And if you look at 2017, 2018, 2019, we had a really stable group. A hardened, experienced sort of group, but they were stable. The majority of those teams were pretty well, very, very similar teams in every series that we played, or every game that we played. And COVID hurt us a bit. That 3-year break, and a few of our guys that were stalwarts at that stage become a bit older, and a new group came in. What I'm trying to say is, if every group's going to be as good as this group that we had on this tour, then you enjoy it, you want to be a part of it. I've loved everything about this tour, I've loved everything about this group, and it makes you want to be involved again. And as I said before, we might not have got the results, but I'm extremely proud of how this group have carried themselves, and I'm sure if you talk to every motel, they'll tell you how much they love our players because of the way they've carried themselves and the effort they've put on the field. So I've definitely still got the passion. In 12 months' time, I'll be coaching in the NRL, and I've got to figure out and see where it fits and what fits, and there's a lot of things that depends on as well, and what the calendar actually looks like and what games are scheduled is a big part of it.
Kristian, before this series began, you said you wanted to get out of it to make your players feel uncomfortable, to sort of make up for a disappointing World Cup campaign. Do you feel you've got all of that out of this tour?
Yeah, we have. And that might sound like a different, or a strange sort of comment because we haven't got the results, but all those things I said before, the way we prepared, the way these group of men have carried themselves, the pride that they've shown in the jersey off the field, and then on the field through their effort, we've got all the things that we wanted. And there's a number of things that we just didn't get quite right in the World Cup. We might have had a more talented or a more experienced side, but we got the result we deserved in the end because we didn't get a number of things right. And as I said before, we probably deserve better results this time because of how hard our blokes have worked, and that's international rugby league.
Test series have been off the agenda for quite a while. I mean, this has restarted something globally. Are you hoping that will carry on?
Yeah, I am. We need to have an international schedule. There's a different audience that watches international games, and that's on both sides of the world. And It brings a different interest. It brings, as I said, people who don't always watch the NRL or the Super League will come and watch international games because they support England or they support Tonga or whoever that might be. So we do need to make sure that we've got a schedule. We do need to make sure that we've got organised games and meaningful games. And that was a really good thing about this series. It's a meaningful series. It's number 3 and number 5 in the world. That makes it meaningful. I've always said though we've got to make sure we've got the balance right. 4 or 5 games at the end of every year just doesn't work. 2 or 3 does, and that's a fine balance on how we keep growing the game through international football. But we've got to have the support of the clubs, and you only do that if we get the balance right.
For your players, I mean, when the competition was announced down under, was it difficult for the players to think we're going to England, or would they always focus on coming to England?
Now look, Tonga, we run things a little bit different to probably every other nation, and again, if I go back to sort of the early years, we had to make sure we had to earn trust with players. What wasn't there first was players didn't want to play for Tonga because they didn't trust what they were coming into, and I learned that very early and made sure that we gave them what they needed when they came into camp, so that there was a real trust. And if a player was going to commit to playing for Tonga, and remember there's a massive sacrifice there, all of our players are eligible for both Australia and New Zealand. You can't play in the NRL if you're not eligible for Australia and New Zealand. It's as simple as that. Even guys like Conrad and Ali who were born in Tonga. And we had to earn the trust there, and we had to give the players something that they knew when they came into camp. It was going to be professional, they were going to be able to play their best footy, but they also needed a schedule that meant that they had something to play for as well. And that's what we've made sure we've tried to give them. And as long as we keep giving that, then the players will keep putting their hand up and playing for Tonga and making that sacrifice. And that's something we can all be really proud of.
As far as 12 months' time and assumptions, one which you mentioned earlier about Samoa, the other assumption is that you'll be playing in the Pacific Championship. Is that's not nailed on either? That's not determined. I don't think the Pacific Championship, in terms of what it exactly looks like, is completely nailed on just yet. But my intention there is, I don't want to speak out of school here. My intention here is that when I get back to Australia, I'll be in contact with people in the NRL and people who are now making themselves more involved in international rugby league, and try and find out what that might look like, and then we'll figure out what our involvement is from there.
Kristian, just like I say, I don't suppose you've seen the highlights from this morning's game, Australia-New Zealand. It's does that sort of result give hope to the rest of the world, I suppose, in that Australia aren't quite invincible?
Oh, look, they've never been invincible. We beat them in 2019. So, you know that you're playing a very good side, and you've got to play extremely well when you play Australia or New Zealand, or England for that matter. Now that's why the 3 nations have been the 3 strongest nations in the world for a very long time. That's why they're the 3 Tier 1 nations, and the rest of us are still trying to catch up. We're getting closer and closer. I said before, we wouldn't have dreamed of being on this stage and having 3 games in England and even playing England 5 or 6 years ago. We're advancing, we're getting better, we're getting closer. And in 4 or 5, whenever the next one of these tours is, or whether England come over to our shores, whatever happens, I've got no doubt that we're going to be a little bit closer again.
Along similar lines, you mentioned sort of England, Australia, New Zealand, 1, 2, 3. On what you've seen in this series, how much closer, if any, do you think England have got or are at the moment to Australia and New Zealand?
Well, look, it's a hard question to answer until you actually see them play in those nations. And I would love to have got our strongest and experienced side over here and seen what it looked like then. But that's rugby league sometimes, and or professional sport sometimes, and playing over in Australia and New Zealand's very different conditions as well. The ruck's very different, the speed of the game's very different. So there's a whole lot of things that need to be factored in there. But the biggest difference I think between the 2 teams this series has been the 6-7-1. The 6-7-1 for England have been exceptional, and Jack Rowlesby's an outstanding player, and he's been really well complemented by Harry Smith and both Mikey Lewis and George Williams tonight. And if they keep those guys together and they keep playing the footy they did tonight, then they're certainly going to compete.
Right, thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
With you, we'll get done.